Hi, this is Sarah Mikesell with the Dairy Site, and today we're here with Corey Geiger. He is the lead dairy analyst with CoBank. Thanks for being with us today, Corey.
I'm excited to be here with you, Sarah.
Very good. And as people might see from the background here, we're at World Dairy Expo in Madison, Wisconsin in the United States. Tell us a little bit about what's going on in the U.S. dairy markets right now.
Sure, we'll start with World Dairy Expo is now 56th year here, and we had 107 buses of youth come to the grounds today. So we have young people. Dairy is dynamic and growing, so that's the big part here. Cheese continues to be the lead dairy product. People are eating their dairy in the United States these days, and certainly butter is booming. Butter has a lot of different connotations. We certainly have butter, the dairy product, which is up about 18% since 2011. So dairy in the United States, we're actually butter fat deficit. So there was a time in the United States from like 1950 to 2010, the average butter fat in the U.S. dairy herd, so this is USDA statistics, was 3.65% to 3.69. Over 50 years, it sat in that little 5% window. And since 2010, butterfat has leapt like a rocket ship. So we've gone from 3.69% to last year 4.08%.
Wow.
And right now, butter, when you look at the big three exporters between New Zealand, the European Union, and the United States, butter is the most expensive here in the United States. We actually have butter imports coming in right now, which is a bit unique, but dairy farmers here in this country are making a lot of inroads in producing butterfat. So the cheese story, cheese is growing. Our leading dairy product in cheese is mozzarella. And pizza is the big story there, of course, in consumer markets in that regard. This year has been a little bit tough on the milk check front, though, for U.S. dairy farms. So, and I've been blessed to travel well over a dozen dairy countries around the world and 48 states here in the U.S. One thing the U.S. has done very well in the last 5 years, and it's really two projects. One was in the Farm Bill. Dairy margin coverage program. So farmers can ensure milk production. And so when we have these low milk price times, they have insurance to make their milk checks whole. Right now, the first, from February to August, the first 7 months in a row in that program paid out. This year, it's going to be a record payout already, and we have 4 months ago, $1.2 billion. And the average, everything in the U.S. is by hundredweight here, where in Europe or New Zealand would be, Europe would be liters, and New Zealand would be kilograms of milk solid. But here we're talking hundredweights. And the average insurance payments right now are running about $3.90 per hundredweight. There's a second program out there, Dairy Revenue Protection. So farmers can buy insurance contracts by the quarter. So the first quarter would be January to March, April to June. And those payments so far this year have been $330 million. So really what we're talking about is a period of low milk prices and high feed costs. It looks like the futures market's telling us that we're going to be coming out of that here in the fall of the year here in the U.S. Globally, milk, dry products are doing better. And dry products can be skim milk powder, whole milk powder, all the whey proteins out there. So those are doing well. Butter, of course, is well. A lot of cheese on the market right now, but demand is strong on that front.
Very good. And let's talk a little bit about U.S. exports. What are our top markets for U.S. exports?
Mm-hmm. So whenever I talk about the journey for U.S. dairy industry and exports, we got to remember U.S. came from almost nowhere. 1995, non-player. That's when the U.S. Dairy Export Council came about, and we started really thinking that we could, in the U.S., be global exporters. Now there's 9.4 million dairy cows in U.S. dairy herd. 1.4 million are basically making products for the export market. That's how much it's grown since 1995. It's dynamic. Or we can put it a different way, 5 or 6 days every month, all the cows in the U.S. are making dairy products for the global market. So big paradigm shift here. Yeah. So that's one part of that story. Mexico became the first $1 billion dairy market for the United States. And Mexico's been buying a lot of dairy products this year, and it's actually the big growth category. Been buying a lot of cheese. The peso has been strong. A lot of currencies are a little bit depressed here worldwide, but not in Mexico. Mexico economy is doing pretty well. So that's been an area. And then two other growth areas, and I just spent time in Southeast Asia in June on a U.S. Dairy Export Council trade mission. The countries of Southeast Asia are really growing dairy demand, and think like Vietnam and Malaysia and Indonesia and the Philippines, Singapore, of course, too. And a lot of that is in Vietnam, and a lot of that is ingredients, incorporating great dairy proteins into Asian cuisine.
That's interesting. Wow, a lot of great information. I have a million questions to ask you, Corey, but I know we got a short time here. Are you optimistic about the U.S. market right now?
I am long term. Dairy has a lot of investment taking place in this country. You know what's different since this is an international audience? I think it's important to bring out. If you're in Europe or if you're in New Zealand, for example, a lot of the processing assets are coming within those countries. The U.S. over the last 20 years has had a lot of what I would call foreign dairy investment in processing here. Agri-Pure and Saputo, Canadian companies have a lot of dairy plants here. Glanbia would be another one, European, of course. But the U.S. makes more milk every year, and so long term, the U.S. is going to be a major player on the dairy stage, not only with its great domestic market, but ability to produce product to export to other countries around the world. A lot of new processing plants coming online here in the next 2 to 3 years as well. So that'll be a dynamic change as well. But all in all, dairy worldwide is a growth category. The amino acids found in dairy are the most complete known to humanity. And one story I want to finish up with. A number of years ago, I was in Vietnam. I'm not a shopper, but I was there with some dairy farm women who are. And I was smart enough to know what that Ralph Lauren logo looked like, and the shirts were like $2 to $3. I'm like, well, they must be knockoffs. And they said, no, they're made here. So in America, those shirts would have security tags to prevent theft, not in Vietnam. What did there, behind the counter with the security around the can, was infant formula. Great infant formula made from New Zealand and the United States, because just like the immigrants that came to the United States over the years, the families wanted better for their children. And they're going to buy great dairy proteins so that their young people can grow up, be strong and healthy. And I think that's a great dairy story too.
Very good. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Corey, for all the information today.
You're welcome, Sarah. It's been a pleasure to be with you.
Thanks so much. This is Sarah Mikesell with the Dairy Site.